today what I'm going to do is take you through the Everbridge suite and our platform, and also show you some highlights of the product itself. So I'm hoping that today you'll get an understanding of the richness of the capabilities and the breadth of solutions that we solve from a critical communications perspective. So just to give you a brief overview of our platform, at the root of our platform are a set of core services. Things like our communications engine, the ability for you to manage all of your contacts, reporting and analytics, our mapping capabilities, our Everbridge network, and all of the security functions that protect our entire platform as well. On our platform rests a series of applications as well as a mobile family, so that pretty much every application we have has a mobile component that's associated with it. So anything that you can do in the web, you'll be able to do in the field, on the go, wherever you are. It's also important to note that we have an incredibly open platform with APIs, connectors, and a lot of configurability, which enables us to extend our platform even further. One of the key things about our platform is that you can start with one product and over time invest in additional products as you continue to leverage your value of Everbridge. So our goal is to provide you with a set of capabilities that you can really get a great return on investment over time as you grow your own organizations and automate additional functions. So let's first start with mass notification. Mass notification is probably our flagship product. It's what really Everbridge was founded on. It's the notion of really keeping residents and employees safe and well informed in the face of any kind of an emergency event or critical event. It's also the ability to ensure that operations continue to work as effectively as possible under a variety of distressful situations. And we've also recently added some ability around community engagement, which I'll talk about also. One of the great examples of leveraging something like mass notification, where it was leveraged widespread in New England, was the Boston Marathon bombings, where many different government agencies leveraged Everbridge, but also corporations surrounding healthcare, etc. A number of shelter-in-place messages were sent out. The manhunt for the perpetrators was all conducted leveraging automated communications through Everbridge. And of course, the result was that we were able to apprehend the perpetrators. Community engagement really takes mass notification to a whole new level. One of the challenges of mass notification and being able to communicate with your residents and citizens is the ability to reach a really wide audience. Because at the end of the day, everyone is different. Some people will freely opt into member portals. They'll give you information about themselves, where their specific home address is, maybe special needs that they have. For example, if they're leveraging oxygen at home, those kinds of things that can really help you better manage an emergency. Other people are, prefer an easier SMS-only, limit personal information. I just want to anonymously opt-in approach. You have people who are looking for a rich mobile experience, who like to share a lot of information. And these are often, in neighborhoods where people are more willing to share information, etc. And then finally, one of the other things that is key is not only do you have to protect the citizens and residents of your community, but you also have to think about visitors who come, whether they come for trade shows or entertainment events, sporting events, etc. What happens if there's an emergency, during one of those events? How do you reach people who are more transient? So this is the whole goal of community engagement, and we're going to talk specifically about what that involves, and you'll see you'll see this in the demonstration as well. The other key element of the Everbridge platform is when we deliver communications, we highly recommend that you use for your constituents multiple delivery paths. And the reason is that if there is some kind of a natural disaster or man-made situation, certain paths and delivery methods can easily be compromised. So for every contact in the Everbridge database, we encourage, and it's a best practice for you to have more than one way to reach them. And by the way, you can actually prioritize communication so that you reach out to people on the path that they prefer to answer first. And if they don't answer that first path, you keep going until you reach them. So for example, the first attempt goes out, Alan and Phil respond, they confirm affirmatively. That's the other benefit of Everbridge, is that we actually register the confirmations. The second path goes out, and second attempt, third attempt, and by the third attempt, if you don't have all the confirmations that you want, we make it really easy for you to send follow-on broadcasts. And I'll show you that in the demonstration briefly. The other key thing here is that in order to reach a wide audience and many different pathways and communication sources, we have one form in the Everbridge platform and one push of the button that gives you this incredible wide reach. That includes your employees, your 911 database, yellow pages, white pages, etc. Any members who have proactively opted in, anonymous opt-ins, and then even those who have opted into a specific event. And we'll discuss that in more detail. So when you push that button, you go through all of those contact sources, also reach out to a number of other pathways automatically. You can reach out to our mobile application, OneBridge, iPause, the Everbridge network, a web application, Facebook, Twitter, and Google Alerts, all from one push of the button. So this is a high-level overview of that form. It includes what message do you want to send, what's the content, who are you going to send that to, including what paths are you going to publish, not only individuals and groups, etc., and how you're going to send it, what methods you're going to use, how many broadcast cycles, etc., and then you push the send button. So I just wanted to give you that overview before we dive into the demo, because this is exactly what you're going to see. So now it is demo time. We're going to actually switch gears here and go into Everbridge. So you'll notice that I am in the Notifications tab of the Everbridge suite. Along the top, there's a number of different functions. But because right now we're focused on notifications and mass notification, we're in the Notifications tab. And we're going to send a new notification. It just so happens that there's a hurricane coming, and we are actually going to use a notification template to send an emergency evacuation. So another best practice is that instead of having to craft a message completely from scratch, which of course we allow you to do as well, it's important to have templates ready to go so that you can simply select a template. For example, for the emergency evacuation, you know that the hurricane is coming, so you can prepare these in advance. Some things, obviously, you have to do ad hoc. You know this is coming. You can press the send button. It's going to ask you, do you want to gather this information under a specific event? And the name of this hurricane happens to be Hurricane Bess. Bess happens to be the name of my puppy, so I associate her with a hurricane, as you can imagine. So Hurricane Bess is causing us to do an emergency evacuation, and we're going to quickly send that notification. Now, what's happening behind the scenes is that this notification is going out to many, many different people and all the constituents that we talked about. So let's talk about what that looks like behind the scenes. So we're going to take a deeper look at our emergency evacuation. First of all, notice that you have the option of making this a high priority message or a regular priority. You can include separate messaging for email notifications. So you have a short message for SMS and other shorter pathways. And you also have a nice way to format any notification with your own logo. This happens to be, see already we're getting calls from Everbridge with that notification that I just sent out. So emergency, notification with your town logo, etc. So this can all be branded for you. So that's what the email would look like. And you also have a set of publishing options also. So for example, you can publish to social media. You can publish to the community channels, all those people who have anonymously opted in. In the United States alone, there's about 3 million opt-ins. You can grow that community. You can leverage existing opt-ins that are out there. We also provide the ability to select iPause channels. I don't happen to have federal credentials, but I wanted to show you that, again, from one form, you're reaching all of these different channels. Same thing with social media. We'll see that social media is selected here, the Nixle channels as well. And let's talk about something special called event groups. So imagine that, this hurricane is coming, and we also, at the same time, have people who are visiting the Cape Cod Seashore Parks, for example. So we want to make sure that anyone who has opted into the national parks will get the evacuation notice. Likewise, there's a carnival in August, and many people, hundreds of thousands of people come to carnival. So we want to make sure that they get this particular notice. We're not so worried about Snowfest because that's coming up in December, so we won't check that opt-in. But you can see that you can easily include all these other pathways and communities in your notification. And then finally, you can easily select shapes that are saved. So obviously, if you live in a coastal area, you know that you have certain flood zones, hurricane areas, etc. All those shapes can be saved in your shape library ahead of time, so you can easily select them. So you can easily go to the map. You can understand who's been selected. You can always preview your selections as well. That way you know that you've actually made the right selection. And notice that in the map, here's a quick view of our shape that we're going to use. We could change this shape, etc., but we're going to stick with that one. We select it. We can save this as a template, as I showed you earlier, or we could send it right now. Since we've already sent it, I will not send it again. But notice how easy that was, and all the different channels that we have reached with our notification, including, for example, social media. So if we look at social media and we do a refresh here, we'll see that the evacuation notification went out 3 minutes ago. So it's pretty much instantaneously that this stuff hits the wire, so to speak. And that's just one example. You saw the phone ringing, so I had all kinds of communication modes working here. And likewise, if I go back to notifications, I can easily see from a history perspective, who's confirmed, who's actually confirmed and received my message. If I want to, I can go back and send a follow-up. And I can send a follow-up to all of those people who have not confirmed. So there's 6 people that have not confirmed, and I'm going to send a follow-up message, and it gives me the option now to change that. So, I might say, hey, last chance, so I have the option to edit that message, and again, I just go right down here to send. I can choose the Nixle channels. I can choose to update them, or I can cancel that, etc. But it enables me to do, all of that. And I'm going to look at just my Cape Cod Seashore, etc. So that's how you send a follow-up broadcast. That's going to go to all the people that did not confirm. So that's fairly straightforward. So that's all about sending your notification. Everything that you do gives you access to rich reporting. So you'll notice that it has access to who it was sent to. It gives you rich access around every single attempt that was made, if it was a duplicate contact, who responded when, what email, etc. So all of that is part of the reporting that you can download for further usage, etc. So that's the notifications tab, pretty straightforward. So a couple other things before we talk about some of the other aspects of the platform. All the things that I showed you in terms of launching a notification can also be launched from our mobile application anytime, anywhere. So from our mobile application, you can easily launch pre-canned templates. Again, just a push of the button. Or you can launch an ad hoc message as well. Just filling in a simple form. You can leverage shapes again from the map for geo-targeted notifications. And you can also track your notification results from the field and do the things we talked about, like sending follow-up broadcasts, etc., all from your mobile phone, both iOS and Android. From a citizen perspective, we have a new citizen resident application called OneBridge. And the whole purpose of OneBridge is to make it really easy for citizens to get information from a public safety perspective, and to also share that information with their, with their circle of friends and their social networks, etc., so that you get an effect where the more people are informed about a certain situation, the better off the whole community is. So you'll notice that in the citizen application, this is an example of Pasadena Police. People can they can like it, they can share things, they can comment on things, etc. It also gives law enforcement a great vehicle into understanding what's happening from a community citizen perspective. And it's all about really making a stronger and more engaged community. I talked to you about iPause and the fact that we support all the iPause channels. And again, you're just selecting the iPause channels from the form. We also support both live mode and also test mode. So you can send things to the FEMA test lab first to get a feel for how things work, what they're going to look like on certain devices, etc. So this is really critical from an iPause federal perspective, FEMA perspective, to be able to have access to all of these channels and also the test lab for you to get a feel for how iPause really works. So that is the mass notification and community engagement for state and local governments. The next area I'd like to delve into on the platform is incident communications. So incident communications was built out of the need for customers to have the ability to have more built-in intelligence and workflows around various different critical communications so that they could really reduce errors for operational and critical situations where the information is highly structured. And they wanted that information to be collected in a consistent fashion so that the rules and everything that happened around that incident would be consistent and auditable over time. So that's really what incident communications is all about. It provides the ability for you to have more structured communications. And I'm actually going to demo some examples of that just so you can get a feel for the richness of incident communications. So we go back to the Everbridge platform, and one thing I just want to call your attention to is, once you know one part of the Everbridge platform, it's easy to learn other products because the look and feel and the nomenclature and the actions to do certain things are consistent, throughout the platform. We're very fortunate that we were able to, design everything in a tight fashion and pass that ease of use on to customers. So many times, if you're an incident operator, you want a very tight way to enter information into a form, and you want that very locked down. So for example, you may want to organize your incidents into various different folders, and the names of these are customizable. You can call them whatever you want. You organize your forms. This is just an example. We have some emergency forms here. We happen to have a bomb threat, a missing person. We have hazardous spill forms. We have some employee communications, etc. So let's take a look at the missing person form. And the difference between this and mass notification is that it forces you to fill out some required fields. So first of all, notice that it's automatically filling in for me the current time and today's date. I don't have to fill those in. It's taking care of that. Now we're going to talk about a missing person named Mike Scott. He's male. He's Caucasian. He happens to be, 83 years old. He's 5'8", and he weighs about 145 pounds. And he was last seen, walking, toward the mall on Mall Road. So we know that's where he was last seen. The family has given us some additional information about Mike that they're worried about. Mike, suffers from dementia, and the family is concerned. He has lost his way. So you fill out that quick form, and you'll notice that everything is pre-formatted for you. So all of the variables have populated a nice email. Please be on the lookout for Mike Scott. He's 83 years old. He suffers from dementia. If you have any information, you can attach pictures to this, etc. It just makes it, clean and easy. The same information is, collected all the time. And then when you're ready, you can send that notification. And again, we're sending them out to the NICSL channels as well, the community engagement channels. So it's one incident now, this missing person report. We can do a journal entry, with new information. Mike Scott, reported to be seen, at Walden Road. So any new information we have, we can keep these in journal entries. Every time I enter it, it tells who's entered that entry, etc. And obviously, this is one example, a missing person, but this could be any kind of an incident. It could be a hazardous spill that you want to make sure that you know that certain people in the chain of command, and there's my missing person alert. You want to make sure that the chain of command, knows that the hazardous spill has happened, that there might have been impacts, etc. There's a whole variety of ways in which you can leverage incident management. Again, you have ability to send updates. You can close the incident at any time, and you can always manage a whole, dashboard of all of your incidents, hazardous spills, missing persons, etc. These are just examples for this particular demonstration. But let me take you a little bit behind the scenes, and you can see how easy it is to make up your own incident templates. So only the administrator would have rights to this particular tab that we're going into now. And we're going to take a look at the bomb threat template. Right now, the bomb threat template is live. If I'm not satisfied with it, I can make it into draft mode. That means that no one would see it. So the people who are supposed to leverage this form would not see the bomb threat. Keep it in draft mode. I can make it live. I can also include any kind of parameters that I want to include. So for example, if I wanted to, I don't really care about today's date, I could just get rid of it. I can add today's date. I can get rid of an additional information. I can make a field required. I could say fill in what building that particular bomb threat is against. I can customize the outgoing message. I can, include, a separate message for email notifications if I want to create something that is, richer, etc. I can test it. I can attach files. All of those things. And once I'm satisfied with the form that people are going to use to enter the information about the bomb threat, I can save that. And notice it's part of the emergency category. And when we go back to the incidents, it surfaces under emergency, and there's the bomb threat template. So as an operator, that's what I would see in terms of entering that information. So that's a quick overview of incident management. There's a lot of richness behind it. One other thing about incident management is that when you're building your templates out, there's some things that you can do to really lock down the permissions. So again, just like on a notification template, you decide who you're going to publish it to. If you're going to publish it at all, it might be an operational thing that does not go to the public. Who, from a contact perspective, sees this particular incident? Only 7 individuals. What about the settings? And then finally, permissions say that the person who's going to fill out that bomb threat form, they cannot edit who it gets sent to, nor any of the settings. They can only edit the message itself. So this is critical in terms of really keeping things very locked down and tight from a permissions perspective. And that's something that sets incident communications apart from mass notification. It's got a workflow, and the control of the incident template is and the templates are much tighter. So with that, we'll go back to our presentation, and we're going to go back to our presentation. One thing about incident communications that I would like to also mention is that when you saw me entering information on a form, I was manually entering in fields, etc. With incident communication, you can integrate with any kind of system, external system, and automate a whole communications flow. So for example, CAD systems, IT systems, or anything that has a sensor or a monitor can communicate behind the scenes through our API and create alerts based on various thresholds with certain information that's passed to the form automatically, and it will automatically notify the right person, who's on call, who's got the right skills, and the right method. So the one thing around that is that we also have a full scheduling system as well that enables you to make sure that whoever on call is the only person that gets the notification, and if they don't answer, you can escalate. but instead of blasting it out to everyone, you can really specifically point your messaging to the right people. And finally, one of the other things about the Everbridge platform is the ability to give you as much information as possible so that as you manage various different crises and incidents, you have as much situational awareness as possible around what's happening around you. And we have a number of vehicles by which to provide you with that situational awareness. The first is really your frontline intelligence, messages from your constituents. And those can be messages that you solicit information about, or messages where you actually are getting unsolicited messages, for example, from your employees, where you might, get information about, anything that's going on in your particular environment because they're on the ground, they're on site, etc. You can set categories, and this two-way communication is rich with pictures, and we'll see that in the demonstration. So that's your frontline constituents. The next kind of intelligence is social intelligence, and this is really all about following trends. A great example of this, again, was in the Boston Marathon situation where people were actually tweeting pictures of what was happening in Watertown as the SWAT team descended around their homes. And the only way that you could see this kind of information was through social media, because those areas of Watertown were very cordoned off. So getting insight into social trends is very helpful in understanding the situation around you. And our social intelligence enables you to follow various news items and topics through keywords and conditions, thresholds, etc. And it also not only gives you awareness around what's actually happening, but also some awareness around rumors as well, because that can be just as important as as understanding real life, as understanding what things might be, being proliferated that are not true, that you need to take corrective action around. And finally, we also provide some trusted threat intelligence through a third-party provider called NC4. There's over 100 different kinds of threats that are monitored, and we'll take a look at this as well. Configurable thresholds and all geo-aware. One other note also that we're going to take a look at is smart weather. And a lot of this is automated behind the scenes, but it's all based on feeds coming from trusted sources, weather decision technologies, etc., around important weather alerts, and you have the ability to customize how all of those are triggered. So let's take a look at some situational awareness. So if we look at the Everbridge universe, this gives you the ability to actually get a view into your world. You'll notice that the dots on the map represent contacts. They can be citizen contacts, employee contacts. You can color code them. So you'll get an understanding of what employees are near certain events, what citizens are impacted by certain events, etc. So let's take a look at situational awareness. Along the left here, you'll see that we have a number of different elements around situational awareness. Twitter, your frontline intelligence, your member messages, weather, the Everbridge network, what other Everbridge customers are publishing, threat alerts through NC4, and then iPause, cog to cog. So let's take a look at Twitter. Now this is live right now, so we'll see what's happening here. I had set an alert around with two keywords, fire and Boston. Obviously this casts a wide net, and we have a lot of different tweets. So some of these are just rumors, or they're not, they're not really important. But every once in a while, you can see where there might be a particular fire. So look at this. Karen here is saying that there might be a fire, in Stewart Street near Boston, outside of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation building. We don't really know about that. So again, that's a little piece of information that you have, that there could be a fire in Boston. We don't know that that's true or not, but we have other sources that we can go to get an understanding of whether that's true or not. And honestly, I have no idea whether that's true or not, because I'm just looking at this in real time just like you are. So we're going to look at our trusted source of threats and such, which includes fires. And we're going to see, we're just going to take a look at all of the different alerts in the last number of days. And notice that these are all geocoded. So I can take a look at this and I can see where, all of the various, fires have been, et cetera. Everything is geocoded. It tells me a description of the event, one alarm fire, reports indicate that crews contain that fire, et cetera. I can zoom in a little bit to the map, and I can look at the Boston area, and I know where Stewart Street is, and I don't see, a fire there. So it's unlikely that whatever that woman was reporting, was an actual fire. Perhaps it was just some kind of a fire drill. You can obviously check other sources, but my only point here is that you have, ways in which you can explore the situation around you. There's a number of other things as well. There's a suspicious package. Let's say that for the suspicious package, I take a look at that. It's a minor incident. The incident was closed, so I don't really have to do anything about that. There's some hazardous fumes. So I might decide that I'm going to send a notification to the people around that hazardous fume thing who might be impacted by that. So I can easily select contacts on the map. I'm going to actually draw a shape around that. I'm going to do a polygon. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take everyone in this area around that that particular hazmat. I'm going to actually send them a message. So let's find the hazmat, because I'm going to actually just this is more, here it is, hazmat right here. So notice that with everything in NC4, I can easily create a new notification around it, and it's populated the message for me. It goes to the map. It knows that I've selected 16 people on the map. You know what? And I'm also going to send this through the Nixle channels, and I'm going to send it to. I'm going to make it an advisory. Hazmat fumes in area. And I'm going to make it everyone who's going to the carnival, etc. I can pick other individuals out if I want to, groups if I have a management group I want to copy, and then I can just send that. So that's going to go on its way. Notice it's sent. It's going to start reporting back the results of who received the message, etc. Very shortly. So we're going to go back to the universe. And we're going to take a look at, so we've taken a look at Twitter. Let's take a look at our frontline intelligence and see what's going on from any, from my own constituents here. So let's see. Let's see if anyone sent me anything unsolicited in the last 6 hours or so. It just so happens that, we do have some notifications here. And again, notice that everything is geocoded, and your unsolicited messages coming from the front lines can have different icons associated with them. So this is a hazardous spill icon, the blue star, and this is actually a fire message. So this was sent via the mobile phone, and I'll talk about the mobile phone app in a few moments. And I obviously sent these earlier today, so we would have them in the demo environment. But again, anything that appears from a situational awareness perspective, I can look into other sources. I can go to NC4. I can immediately communicate with my my peers around this. So I can send a new notification. Diane Wilkinson, who sent this, is automatically included in that because we know she's the one that sent this. And we can say, whatever we need to say. Please, evacuate, fire, etc. Put in whatever message. And again, I can select contacts on the map, draw shapes, or I can even do rules. So I might not, I might want to look at, well, who's typically in the building that time of day? I can filter contacts. I can say use filters, and I can select the field. It's going to be location, building locations. So I'm going to say, the building is the work building. So it's my work office. So I'm going to include work. And notice that it's going to come back and say 7 contacts are found. So for the 7 people who are in that building today, I'm going to send them this message that there's a fire near the building and to actually, get out of the building. So you have all different kinds of ways within the universe to take information from other sources, trusted sources like NC4, your frontline intelligence, etc., and easily share that information to people who will need to know. So finally, we will take a look at one last piece of situational awareness, and that is weather. And we don't have much of that in Boston. Yes, we do. So lucky for me, I can always find some good weather alerts to demonstrate. In fact, today we have a high wind warning in North Truro, Massachusetts. So notice that this is actually the whole area that has the high wind warning is highlighted in orange by the weather polygon. And one thing that is critical to know here is that you can automate this whole process so that anyone impacted by this particular weather alert would be automatically notified that there's a high wind. Or, again, in everything in situational awareness, you can actually send a new notification if you need people to, to take action around that. So there's a high wind warning. We've got wind advisories. That they were the, the precursor to the high wind warning. Wind advisories, winter weather advisories. That's in Colorado. More winter weather. Winter weather and wind is the, in the last few days is seems to be the what's going on from a weather perspective. But it's important to note that there's over 100 different weather events that we track. You determine which ones you want to automate. So you can decide that you only want to send to your citizens very critical weather alerts, and you can let them subscribe to the other ones. So for example, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, tsunamis, you're going to automatically send those out. But for things like, frost advisories, winter weather warnings, etc., you can let them subscribe to those kinds of weather events. So with that, let's take one last look at how your constituents could actually subscribe and get more information about weather. Well, the cool thing, again, about the platform is that you can easily customize your own member portal to have your opt-ins come to your particular portal, and you can customize that portal with your own brand. So you can customize the information you want to collect from people, the locations, where do they live, subscriptions. So this is where you can choose which weather alerts you would, you want to expose to them. and let them choose which ones that they would like to subscribe to. What information you might want to collect from them. For example, you might want to know who has oxygen in use. So if there were ever an emergency hurricane and power outage, you could, easily go for the people that might be most vulnerable. So that's the kind of information that you can collect, from the member portal. That member portal is public, and from your, town website or county website, you can direct people to that member portal, and they can, easily log in, manage their account. Again, you put your own logo, so it has your brand, your town member opt-in portal, and you can sign up, log in, etc. So signing up is really easy. You simply fill out a form and choose the things that you're interested in. So that's the member portal. It's incredibly easy to set up. This was set up in less than an hour. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in reaching out to your citizens. And that's all part of the Settings tab in the Everbridge platform. With that, we're going to go back to the presentation. We've had a quick tour of the platform. There's other capabilities as well, but I wanted to provide just the highlights and just a few closing comments. I talked about the mobile application. You can see that from a mobile perspective, employees can receive messages. They can send you your trusted frontline intelligence with pictures. It's a two-way communication. And also you can check on schedules if you're an employee, if you're on-call schedules, etc. So the employee's got a great application for them to manage critical communications, know when they're on call, etc. So from an Everbridge perspective, what makes our platform really different? Well, it's really the ease of use is the first key thing. It's combining multiple capabilities into one product that has those shared workflows that I talked about, and all self-service, template-driven, etc. The situational alerting, being able to, look at social media and your trusted frontline intelligence, threat view from NC4, the iPause, COG to COG, etc. All of that in one dashboard that you can easily manage and look at all variety of different sources. We touched upon the mobile enablement. So many of the capabilities that you saw on the platform are also reflected from a mobile perspective. And finally, and most importantly, we really rest on a very secure and scalable platform. In the last year or so, we sent over 1 billion messages. So we are trusted and leveraged, for many, many years now. We were founded in 2002, and at the end of the day, that is the most important thing, is the fact that we have a long history of delivering assured critical communication. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Michael to help conduct the Q&A, but I also want to take a moment to thank everyone for joining the webinar today.
Excellent. Thank you, Claudia. Okay. So with Q&A, the first question, Claudia, we got was, you mentioned, excuse me, they saw, his name's James in the audience, and he saw that you were able to access Nixle contacts. So with Everbridge, are you also able to allow citizens or residents or visitors to opt in via zip code like Nixle?
Yes, absolutely. Since I'm not a state and local government per se, I couldn't demo that capability, but yes. When you reach the Nixle channels from Everbridge, you're reaching into the zip code opt-ins, the event opt-ins, etc.
Awesome. So the next question is, can your system allow for non-admins to send message updates if they have valuable information to share?
Yes, and you can actually lock that down so that you can provide them access to only certain contacts and groups and not administrative capabilities. There's a rich set of access controls that enable you to do that.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Elaine. She wants to know, and I think you covered this, Claudia, so she might have just came on later. But are you able to launch incident templates from a mobile phone? Because typically what she's saying is she'll have an issue, and one of her workers won't be on shift or whatnot, and it might be 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatnot, and she's not in the office or near a computer. Is there a way you can launch that via the mobile app?
Yes, there's the Managed Bridge enables you to send notifications and to launch incident templates, and the incidents, you fill them out as you, would right on the web platform, and it's available on iOS and Android.
Okay. The next question is from Tim, and he wants to know, and this is regarding posting the digital signage. He wants to know how the digital signage integration works. Is it via use of the API or via CAP feeds?
So we can do it a number of different ways, and basically we enable you to publish to any kind of source. We actually activate sirens. We publish to desktop alerting and to digital signage as well.
Perfect. And he has a follow-up question. Are you able to launch those notifications automatically? And can you set them up in your incident templates? Yes.
So all of that can be driven, automatically. Again, you could have some external system, cause any kind of alert on digital signage, etc.
The next question is, Claudia, Joe wants to know, are you, so this is actually a city communications director, that was his title he just sent over, and he wants to know, are you able to automatically post to social media pages for various different groups of the city through Everbridge?
Yes, in fact, I demonstrated the fact that the evacuation alert went to the Everbridge Facebook page. You can easily launch to Facebook, to Twitter, etc. You can choose which pages you specifically want to launch to. You can launch to multiple. So if you're a county and you want to access multiple pages, as long as you have permission and authentication to do that, you can do that all with one push of a button.
Perfect. So we don't have any more questions at this time. We do have a couple minutes left, so if anyone has questions that they'd like to ask, feel free to do so. And we'll just hold on for 1 minute.
And I do have one follow-up for Tim, because I see he said he's talking about the digital signage, and he said he didn't see it on the broadcast methods, but it's a publishing option that would be available. So just so Tim understands around the digital signage, that you can publish to digital signs. It would be considered a publishing option.
And again, I'll give just another minute before we sign off. But for those of you interested in a one-on-one demo to see the solution or portions of it in more depth, by all means, visit us online at everbridge.com/request-demo, and we'd be happy to connect you with a product specialist. So we just got another question in, Claudia, from Stan. He wants to know, is there a way to use single login ID password for a person who is a member of multiple groups?
The answer to that is yes.
Perfect. So with that being said, if you haven't already, please take a moment to follow us on Twitter at Everbridge and join our LinkedIn group, Everbridge Incident Management Emergency Notification Professionals. I'm sorry to announce, but we are concluding the webinar. I want to thank our speaker, Claudia Dent, for a great session, and to all of our attendees who were able to join us today. As always, if you missed any part of today's webinar, we will be sending out the slides in the recording, so you can review at your when you'd like to. You'll also receive this via email, and it will be on our blog, so you will have 2 ways to access it. Again, thank you everyone for your participation in today's webinar, Improving Government Communications, to look at the Everbridge platform. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.